Evening, everyone. This is Town of Sheldon Selectboard and Water Commissioner meeting Monday, November 10th of 2025. Tonight's agenda under new business, we have personnel policy review, Bridge 11, scoping report, town administrator's report. We need to sign and approve minutes of October 27th meeting. Payroll warrant 2540, accounts payable warrant 31708, and then under old business we've got the salt shed project update, Mill Street sewer project update, and the telecommunication review and upgrade. Anything else you need to add?
Not to my knowledge at this time.
Okay. Alright, we'll jump right into it then. Personnel policy review.
So we had a staff meeting last, the day after our last meeting. And as part of that, we talked a little bit about, the current policy we have for, for paid time off and thinking about a different, maybe moving to a different policy. We have, right now, we have, besides their regular hours, the full-time employees and part-time employees when they are at work have certain holidays off. I believe we have 13 town holidays plus one personal day that we have. That has changed somewhat from the way it used to be. I think we used to have some floating holidays, and I think there used to be 2 personal days, and we changed. So there was some interest from the employees to maybe exchange that. I think the town changed it so that the day after Thanksgiving we just give everybody a holiday because I think most people were taking one of their personal days to do that anyway. But it sounded like they would be more interested in just having a second personal day back instead of taking that as a holiday.
Okay.
The other thing that was pointed out this year, I guess, I don't know if I'm not sure why it wasn't an issue last year or whatever, but we added Juneteenth as a state holiday. I don't know if in the personnel policy, I don't see that we've ever had Bennington Battle Day as a day off. I think Kim used to close the office just because she could take a day off there. But anyway, it was just something that came up this year that somebody brought up to me that's a state holiday that the state takes off, but we aren't taking. But I didn't push too hard on that, but anyway, it sounds like they might prefer to have a personal day back instead of having a mandatory holiday on the day after Thanksgiving. And I brought up to them that the town did at one point have floating holidays. I think tomorrow's Veterans Day will be closed. And I think that used to be a floating holiday. And I can't remember what the other one used to be, but there didn't seem to be quite as much interested in that, just because Jane said she would prefer to be closed when the banks are closed anyway, and I guess the highway guys, it doesn't matter if it snows, they're still gonna get paid for plowing, whether it's a specific holiday or not. Anyway, beyond that, we then have leaving aside comp time, because I think that would have to be separate because of the way that it's legislated. We have vacation time, we have vacation leave, sick leave, and then kind of as a side of sick leave, we also have a bereavement leave policy. And we also, as I mentioned, we currently have one personal day that we allow people to take. We had discussed last year when we were doing the personnel policy, possibly having a combined time or a paid time off policy where I think holidays would be separate, but all those other categories that I just mentioned, vacation, sick, bereavement, personal, would be kind of one bank of, you could combine those into one bank of paid time off. I did some basic calculations using the amount of time that people are given now, depending on their seniority, where we would still be giving people 40 the equivalent, right now we give everyone the equivalent of 40 hours, all the full-time employees get 40 hours of sick time that they accrue over the year, but it's available to them at any time. And then depending on how long they've been here, they get between 1 and 3 weeks of vacation. We don't have anybody who's been with the town long enough to get 4 weeks of vacation, but if somebody was here for 10 years, right now that would be the max that they could get. I think we'd have to, I discussed sort of with the employees, the idea of having them be combined, together, right now. And part of the reason why I think that would be attractive is that it would be easier for the clerk. It should be somewhat easier for the clerk to administrate because it's one bank of time, and there should also be fewer disputes between. It's come up from time to time where the clerk, either this clerk or the previous one, took time out of the wrong bank, or someone thought that the wrong bank had been taken out of. And I've heard about that from time to time. And in this situation, you would be able to, we would have to have a policy where only a certain amount of time would be available to them without notice. So if you were actually sick, you couldn't just take a 2-week vacation without telling anybody. So there would still be the same basic structure in terms of how people take their time. If they wanted to take what would amount to vacation time, they would be giving notice and making sure that it fit into get approval from their supervisor to make sure it fits in. And then if they were sick, it would be available to them on an immediate basis up to, after 3 days. If you're not back to work, we could require you to, get a note from a doctor or something like that. There was a policy we talked. Right now, we have a current policy where there is an exception for the highway crew that they can, or if they come in sick to plow snow, when they're sick and plow snow, we allow them to get overtime for that. For if they come in, if they get called in at 3 a.m. and they plow snow, they can. But they're sick, they could take the remainder of some time off in that day, in the work day, and still earn overtime there's an exception for that in our current policy. So we'd have to address that, how that would work with the paid time off policy. But I didn't have a lot of time to get into the specifics of how it would work. The employees did have a lot of questions about how things would accrue and how things would roll over. Right now, there's different accrual rates and different limits on how much we can roll over for each bank of time. I think we would implement a system where there would be a certain amount and the other thing about the system we have now is that there's a certain amount of time that per the policy, they're supposed to take off. So they're supposed to take at least 1 week of vacation a year, and they're supposed to take a personal day. They don't get to roll that over. And so I think there would have to be a certain amount of time that would be mandatory to be taken off. And if you didn't take it off, you would be paid out at the end of the year. Right. And then there'd be a certain amount that you could roll over from year to year. And then we would have to establish some limits in terms of how much, there would have to be a cap at a certain point of how much people could roll over from year to year. So in general, I worked out a system here, I think, where we would pretty much be giving people the same amount of time that we are now. And it would be slightly different in terms of how much they would be required to take and how much they would be, and their accrual would be, I would like to have our system of accrual be based on the hours actually worked, as opposed to, I think the way it's written into our policy now, it just has to do with how long you've worked for the town, and you accrue it on a monthly basis, and it has nothing to do with how many hours you actually work during that month. I think it might be better to have it accrued based on how many hours you worked, which would be calculated as if that would be based on, if you had a standard year, how many regular hours could you be expected to work if you took, a standard amount of vacation and an allowance for some sick time. And then you would base the accrual on that many hours, and then they could accrue it. Well, depending on how we wanted to do it, I think the easiest way to do it would be to have it accrue at each paycheck, but because the clerk could calculate it each time she issues a paycheck, or I could do it each time we issue a paycheck, or we could do it once a month, I guess, which is technically how it's done right now.
All right. So right now,
Right.
employees, they're allowed 5 sick days a year. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, and
that's sick days, and then you're thinking about adding bereavement days on top of that?
well, per the policy, they can take up to 3 days of bereavement leave.
Okay,
If there's a death in their immediate family.
right, so we've,
It would not be additional. I would not calculate that as additional to the sick time. It would basically be, I would not, I forgot how I calculated it, but I think I took the vacation time that they're allowed and the sick time they're allowed, and we would, even though you're not sick when you're bereaved, it's somewhat like you're sick, sort of. So we would allow them to use it for that reason, but.
right, and we pay the sick days out if they don't use them.
Right now, our current policy I think we used to do that as a town, and our current policy does not have a provision for doing that. It has a provision
Well,
for,
I think we used to, it was, they
Yeah.
had
Right,
sick days, and if they used them, they did, and if they didn't, they lost them, but.
We paid them.
yeah, right, and I think currently we have
Yeah.
we have a rollover we allow them to roll them over and we cap it eventually instead of paying them out. But
Okay, either way.
if we could go back to doing that where we just paid, I think, unfortunately, I think there was some discrepancy between what was written in the policy and what the clerk and what was actually being administered. So I think there were some payments made to people.
Well, the idea behind that, you either gotta accrue, you can't let that get, like, oh, I've got 30 sick days accrued.
Right, yeah.
And yeah, so that was, why I thought that we had to set up so that, well, if you didn't use your sick days,
Okay.
you got town to pay you. So,
And the
Or-
employees were kind of interested in, I think Hunter, when he worked at St. Albans, they had some sort of buyback program that was very similar to that. And,
Yeah.
so I think
Or-
they would be interested in
well,
that.
or the employee could say, well, I wanna keep, maybe we could allow the employees, maybe to have discussion about how many days we allow them to have in a sick bank.
Right.
Maybe they would like to have, 10 days in a sick bank. Or, have 7 or 8 days as opposed to the 5, because just for the insurance of it all, and those sick days could be used for bereavement as well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, or probably, it's not unheard of to go to the dentist, you go there, well, you gotta go back, Dental work sometimes can burn up a lot of time.
I mean, in
So-
my family alone, we had a lot of emergency appendix issues.
Yeah.
And so, that can just kind of suddenly take you out. I think it's good to be able to have it cap it, but to be able to roll it over, I think is a really
Right.
great thing.
So I just wanted to have kind of a general discussion here.
Yeah.
And I can,
Yeah.
make a more concrete proposal in the future. I want to talk to the employees again about it. But my basic idea was that there would be a base amount of days that they would be given at the beginning of the year that needed, and those would need to be used by the end of the year or they'd be paid out.
Yeah.
And then there would be a rate that they would accrue depending on how many hours they worked. And the accrued days could be rolled over. That was my basic idea of how it would work, so that
Okay.
you would be able to use either accrued days or the mandatory days for either either sick time or vacation. It wouldn't, or bereavement, depending on, and then, but we would have to, there would need to be a cap eventually on the amount that you could roll over.
Yeah.
And maybe we could have a policy where, I think we would encourage people to use that time, but if not, maybe there could be some other incentive for people to be paid out partially for some days instead of, you know, if you accrued a lot, maybe we pay them out for a percentage or something like that. But that would be the basic idea. Now, as I mentioned, I think for the highway crew, we would want to keep the comp time policy separate. And I kind of need to revisit with our attorney what specific rules can be made about comp time, because last time we implemented this year a policy where we were trying to get them to use up their comp time by a certain time. You all right, Jerry? Oh no. And that appears to have worked well this year, but it also meant that they, most of them haven't taken any of their vacation time yet either. So they've been using that instead. Anyway, I have noticed that other branches of the government have implemented, there are other, I noticed other government agencies that allow comp time, whether it's the federal government or University of Vermont had a policy I thought was interesting, where they, I think in certain branches of the federal government, there's like a time limit on when you have to use your comp time by. So basically you earn it and within a year you have to use it. And I forgot, there was some other, I can't remember the exact policy that UVM has, but it was interesting to me that it was limiting somewhat how many hours of comp time they could get, that could be accrued or, you know, banked kind of.
Well, you can't, you know, they stash all their overtime there, and
right.
in one winter's time, you get quite a lot of overtime.
Right, and it counts for.
Didn't the tax law change on that overtime?
So it did, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and I looked this up because it came up in an earlier. So yes, there is no tax on overtime wages, but I believe when those are converted to comp time, they do have, because the comp time is suddenly you're going back to being paid at a regular. I think there's a rate above which you are taxed on those wages. I can't recall specifically, but it's not 100%. It's not like there's no tax at all on that.
Isn't that what comp time's all about? Trying to reduce your tax liability there by taking comp time instead of the overtime pay?
Give them some more time off, and you know, I think it started because they were working all that overtime in the winter, and then they wanted, you know, time off in the summer. But like you said, they don't even burn up their vacation time.
Right, with the amount that they earned this winter, yeah, it can be. I mean, and if there's a mild winter, then yeah, you need it.
And then there was the complaint of, if I get a check for my comp time all at once, Kim was putting it on
Right.
with his regular paycheck, and then that was really killing his, you know, the tax rate.
Right. Yeah.
And so he wanted a separate check for that. And
Yeah. That's the.
So, I mean, if you had no intention of using it as time off,
right.
you should have just taken it in your paycheck every week with the, you know.
Yeah. Exactly. So I'm
not sure why the big push for comp time was, but because nobody seems to use it the way it's designed to be used.
Right.
I mean, they use it some, but they still, like you said, they don't take enough time to use both comp time and vacation time in the summer anyway. So.
Right. So I don't know. The odd thing to me about comp time is that the town could decide we don't want to do it and we don't have to. But if you do decide that you want to do it, then all these rules apply to it, and that's
right.
That's the situation I'm trying to. I know the employee. Maybe we should revisit it. I think the employees still prefer to have comp time.
Yeah.
But as I say, it has to make sense. I'd like to have it make a little bit more sense for the town, because, with the amount between, we have a fairly generous package, I think, with the paid time off that we have, and then if they do a lot of comp time, it becomes an issue where, either the town, if people take their comp time, then we have a lot of problems where we, like, if we have work to do, we don't have enough workers to do it sometimes, and then or we're gonna have to, or we should just be paying people more overtime, and they shouldn't be, it's a yin and yang when we're trying to keep people available to work, and we obviously
Maybe we
wanna
should get rid of
compensate
it.
them for their overtime, but. Anyway, I need to confer with our attorney about if there's some changes we can make to, I think the system we came up with last year works pretty well, but I'm not sure, if it might need to be modified. It might be simpler to just offer a buyout, a one time a year buyout of their comp time, because that's essentially what they elected to do this year. And that was the issue that Kim had when she was the clerk, was that she didn't like to be issuing extra checks. She just wanted to, and doing it once a year made it simpler. So that might be the simplest way to work that out. So anyway, I will. I just wanted to let you know that that's how the conversation went with the employees on the paid time off policy. I think they were interested in possibly going back to a system where they were paid out for sick time, or the equivalent of sick time, instead of the current system where we have it rolled over. And they, as I said, were interested in having an extra personal day instead of a holiday, I think.
Well, I think,
There were some other things that they, mentioned, that currently we pay overtime on a holiday, but I have been asked before if maybe for certain holidays the town might consider paying double time for Christmas or Thanksgiving or something like that. And another thing that was mentioned was maybe instead of, and I don't know if this would be an alternative to comp time, is that maybe we could instead have a wage premium for winter work, to compensate them for being available to plow snow on overtime. I don't know. I'm just mentioning things that have been talked about. Anyway, so that I will have a more specific proposal for you after I confer with them about the ideas that have been batted around, but I wanted to report on them.
maybe some of this, we're gonna have some upcoming budget meetings.
Correct. Yeah.
And during those meetings, maybe we can have some more discussion about this subject, because it will affect the budget.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
and anything that would simplify the clerk's work, I'm sure would be welcome.
Agreed.
All right. Get a chance to read this report, Matt?
I did. I don't know if there is I think there is a page in there that has a summary of the different proposals that they had, different options they had. The recommendation is that we replace the bridge that is there. I can go, recalling the major factors, the deck itself needs to be repaired. That on the minimal thing that they would the minimal project that they propose is just replacing the deck, which would extend they conclude would extend the life of the bridge 40 years. I believe the lowest cost project that they put there was about 2.9 million for the whole project. And I think the town that would be a 5% match for the town, I think, in that case. The second, so the project would vary depending on what the solution is that we would put in place, and then also what steps the town would take to mitigate during the construction. So they offer 3 different options for each project. One being you just have a detour where people go around and use the other bridge, either the North Sheldon Bridge, or they go to Fairfield and go down Pumpkin Village, I don't know, or however they get, people detour around. So there's no, then there's a second proposal where a temporary bridge is put up. I'm skeptical about how possible it is to put a temporary bridge in that area, but they think it's possible. And then the third option that they offer, which is probably the most expensive, would be to repair the bridge one lane at a time. So as I say, the minimum project would be to just replace the deck. Intermediate project would be to replace the deck and the support structure of the deck. Both of them, but not replace the piers or any of the the foundation of the bridge would not be addressed. They recommend the full replacement because they think it would, if the bridge was fully replaced, they would remove the central piers that were put in and just have a single span bridge, and they would slightly change the orientation of the bridge to more align with the way, have a better configuration with the road as it exists now. And they would also I think in any case they would prefer to widen the bridge so that it had wider lanes and at least one sidewalk and possibly a bike lane or two sidewalks. So they would, but in any way, the travel lanes that are on the bridge now are substandard. So
two of the alternatives, they say, are 40-year design life.
Correct, yeah.
The full bridge replacement, they don't give a.
I think it's 75 years that
75.
they estimate. So, yes, that's the intermediate structure. The intermediate idea doesn't really get you any additional service time. It adds cost, but
Because it doesn't do anything to the piers and abutments. It's
right.
just
So
the replacement of the structure.
And then I think the preferred alternative that they have would be to replace the bridge and to just have a detour. Electing to only have a detour would reduce the town's share of the cost of the replacement to 5%. If the town preferred to either have a replacement bridge, or either have a temporary bridge or do it one lane at a time, then the town's share would be 10%, I believe.
When they replaced it, they had a pedestrian bridge.
Oh, yes, in the old, in 1933, yes, right.
They had a pedestrian bridge
Yes,
only, so that people could walk from one side of this village to the other.
right.
Which, and if you didn't put a motor detour in, that's what, that's what you would be looking at.
Yeah. So, they would be, V-Trans is interested in coming and giving a presentation to the select board on this subject. I thought maybe the next select board meeting, the next regular meeting on the 24th, I believe, would be the appropriate time to do that, or possibly the first meeting in December, if you guys had a preference.
What about one of those days we were meeting for budget?
We could do, maybe that would be easier for them. I'd have to ask them about what they're scheduling, but it's.
I'd rather do that in the middle of the day and not
Okay.
have all this other business
Okay,
to
it
deal
is,
with.
they did say it would be
For all you know, it might have 3 other things going on in a regular meeting.
I believe they said the presentation would take somewhere between, I think it was 30 minutes to 45 minutes, so.
Right, but I don't know how that goes.
Yeah,
I think,
so I could certainly ask, it might be more convenient for them to come during the day too.
I think it would be, confer with them
Yeah,
as
so
to when, and we can,
okay,
so we can, must be 3, 4 of us will show up here to get, What days are good for you?
Any day's fine. Yeah.
Sunday?
I have childcare on Sunday, so yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, I'm just saying here.
Okay.
If they would meet here at the office, I think we'd have a better,
Okay. Rick, you said that the 20th, you might need to meet remotely.
yes.
I'm guessing I could ask them if they could. I'm sure we could join that presentation. I'm not sure how all that would come across in a Zoom meeting, but I could.
Are they gonna be zooming on, is this?
I think they would come in person. Is what my
Yeah,
understanding.
that's what I-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I haven't asked them specifically about
Wow, we
that.
come up here, it's not, they're coming
So-
out of, they're coming out of St. Albans or out of,
I don't think it's I imagine someone from District 8 would be here, but this is specifically on the bridge, the bridge division who's
yeah,
working
so
on
that's
this.
gonna be
So
out of Waterbury or,
yeah, yeah, Barry. I think the lady who's the project manager works out of the Barry office. So
so you can set up a
I
meeting.
thought maybe the December meeting would be good because that is when I think we'd be doing the highway budget at the December 18th meeting.
Sure.
If you want to wait a little longer, and the road crew would be here at that time too to discuss it. So, all right, I will ask them about December 18th, and if they can't do then, I'll ask about the November meeting instead.
Or any day,
Yeah, or some other time. Yeah. Okay.
any day. I'd rather have the meeting just be specifically about
Oh,
that
just for
bridge.
that. Okay. All right.
That way there you'd be,
Okay. Would another, let's say we picked a different Thursday at 12:30. Would that
yeah,
work for
that'll be fine. Yep.
everyone else?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see if there's some other Thursday at 12:30 that they can do.
Yeah,
So
other
it's
than
not-
this Thursday.
Right. Yes. Well, obviously. Right. Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Can I ask you
Stuff
about-
signed here.
Yeah.
No doubt. All right, I'll read the minutes from previous meeting. Town of Sheldon Select Board Water Commissioner regular meeting minutes from October 27th of 2025. In attendance from the Select Board was Maria Davison, Stephen Dodd, Nicholas Norris, Richard P.E.G, and Greg Stebbins. Others here were Hunter Kerouac, Highway Foreman, Luke
Slamba, I believe so.
from NRPC, Zoom, Matt Stebbins, Town Administrator, and Jerry Vasey from Northwest Access TV. Called the meeting to order and read the agenda at 7:37. And 7:38, Matt Stebbins and Luke addressed the board regarding proposed resolution to support a municipal planning grant application. The select board has identified the need for water and sewer rates to be restructured as long-term maintenance and replacement costs are not covered by current rates. Grant project would include GIS mapping of all assets in the sewer system, as well as developing an asset management plan, including a replacement schedule. Maximum grant award would be $30,000 with the town to contribute 10% matching funds. Matt read the proposed resolution. Rick Piasny moved to adopt the resolution regarding the municipal planning grant as read, seconded by Pam, and the motion carried. 7:59, Hunter Kerouac delivered the highway department report. New wheel loader was used to remove speed bumps on Pleasant Street ahead of plowing season. The reported issue on Hill Street has been addressed, and the crew has begun another round of grading on the gravel roads. 2018 truck was sent for brake repairs, but due to electrical issues is now at the dealership. The other trucks are being prepped for winter. New tires were installed in the backhoe and the tires have been ordered for the 2023 utility truck, plus 2 spares for the tandem truck. Grader will be sent for repair work in the winter months. Quotes are being gathered for building repairs to be considered for the 2026 budget. Matt McRae has 2 sewer classes remaining before his licensure test. 8/21, I read the minutes of the October 14th meeting and the board signed warrants 31707 and 2537. Maria moved to adopt the minutes as read, seconded by Rick, and the motion carried. 8/28, I read the minutes from the October 20th special meeting. Rick moved to adopt the minutes as read, seconded by Greg, and the motion carried. 8:30, the board took up the grand list errors and omissions certificate submitted by Assessor Justin. Matt explained that 2 further corrections had come to light, one being business personal property that is no longer located in Sheldon, and another being a current use correction regarding Robert and Linda Parent Life Estate. Nick moved to adopt the errors and omissions certificate as submitted, seconded by Rick, the motion carried. 8:30, Matt delivered the town administrator's report. A local concerns meeting will be held on November 4th as part of the Sheldon Springs Bicycle and Pedestrian Scoping Grant. Town staff will meet on October 28th to review personnel policy and health insurance. Matt is working with Jane and Amanda Forbes to prepare the 2026 budget and annual report. Matt and Jane discussed Brian Derry's question at the October 14th meeting regarding the foregone taxes calculation on the insert mailed with the property tax bill. The calculation had to do with taxes foregone by the town as a result of the exemption for veterans. Matt consulted Bouchard Home and Office Services regarding the town's options for telecommunication services. The recommendation was to consider holding off on any changes to the phone system until next year. 8:52, the board took up the review and tabulation for bids of the Mill Street Sewer Project submitted by Otter Creek Engineering. Some of the bids contained mathematical errors. The lowest responsive and responsible bidder was Isaac's Excavating and Construction LLC of West Charleston, Vermont, in the amount of $393,650. Engineer Robert Clark recommended that the town award the contract to this firm if funding for the project was available. The board reviewed the bid documents, engineering contract fees, and balances available for the so-called ARPA fund, as well as water and sewer fund. Nick moved to accept the recommendation of Otter Creek Engineering and to award the contract to Isaac's Excavating and Construction LLC in the amount of $393,650. This motion was seconded by Greg and carried with none opposed. 9 o'clock, board took up scheduling meetings to prepare for the 2026 annual budget. The board scheduled the first budget meeting for 12:30 on Thursday, November 20th. The second meeting at 12:20 Thursday, December 18th. Both meetings to be held at the town office. 1 or 2 additional meetings will be held in January to be scheduled at a later date. 9:23, Greg moved to adjourn the meeting, seconded by Nick, the motion carried. Next meeting is on Monday, November 10th at 7:30 at the town office. Take a motion to accept these minutes as read.
I'll make the motion.
Second on that,
Yep. Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
What you got for the
All right. All over the place here with the notes. I guess I'll start with the highway department. The one thing that came up is that Matt alerted me that I guess there's a guardrail on the North Sheldon Bridge that is detached from the bridge. I don't know if we do have some money left on our guardrail account this year that we could use to address that, we've not usually spent much time maintaining that bridge, so I didn't, I have some pictures of it here I can show you, but.
The post broken or the?
Yeah, well, the posts are in bad shape, but it's really the guardrail that comes off on the approach to the bridge used to be attached to the guardrails on the bridge, and now it's not attached anymore.
Is it a rail?
Yeah, yes, it's not wooden, no, it's,
Yeah.
that's
Which bridge is it?
on the North Sheldon Bridge. This is on toward
Okay.
Abby's house, I think. Yeah. So I don't know.
This on the north side?
Yeah, on the south side.
Oh, south side. Okay. Just needs to be bolted back on there. Or welded.
Yeah, I didn't know if we wanted to try to attempt to do that ourselves, or if we should
Yeah.
call Lafayette since they're.
No.
Do it.
Go down
There
there,
are
look at it, and either re-bolt it or send,
the other,
call,
the posts that are supporting it are not in good shape either, so that's the other thing there, is that the
yeah.
thing ought to be redone or not, but. There's looking, there it is looking the other way from toward. So,
I see. This is the side that is detached from the bridge?
I think so, yeah. Sorry, yeah, right there. You can see it.
Yeah. Okay.
That kind of shows
Go down there with
the posts aren't in good shape and also
I'll see
it's
what-
detached there. So,
they could go down there with, I mean, at this point in the game, at this time of year, see what they got over at the yard for,
we do have some spare pieces.
if they got
yeah.
some posts or galvanized posts, they go down there with that loader, drive them in the ground and then reattach that rail.
Okay.
And either bolt it back to the bridge and get it welded, one or the other. Should be, yeah. And then possibly, look at, repairing it and then maybe replacing it later.
Yeah, not a good time to be changing guardrails, but if they get that back attached to that bridge there.
And the rail's fine, what you're looking at is decayed posts.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We'll take a look at that, it might be going that way.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Might slide into it.
We've added the loader to the insurance policy. We are working on, we have to replace a couple of license plates on the trucks anyway, the backhoe doesn't currently have a license plate on it, but we were thinking it probably should, it and the new loader probably should have license plates too, so we're in the registration business right now, I think.
Any money on that, so I think.
One thing I would like to do in time, I'm assuming that we have just registered the trucks as we have ordered them, but it would be probably more convenient for the clerk if all the registrations renewed at one time a year instead of, or at the same time of the year. Obviously, they're all for different lengths of time, but it'd be more convenient if you just did that once a year instead of having 6 different pieces of equipment with different dates. But anyway, it's not super important right now, but if we can align those in the future, we're gonna work on that. We had the drainage from in front of the garage, in front of the town garage was plugged up pretty bad, and they couldn't seem to fix it themselves, so I had them call the same service that we had work on when we had a sewer back up here at the town office. So the line, they had that jetted out, it took quite a bit, and
Which pipe is this now?
in front of the drainage in front of the garage, the
Okay.
catch basins in front of the garage.
Too much sand in there.
Yeah, and now they're a pretty good section of the bottom of one of the culvert kind of came out of the pipe came out with it. So there's probably a good chance. There's probably a fair amount of it there that's corroded, the bottom's corroded out of it, so.
The catch basin?
Not the pipe connecting the catch basins, yeah. So, anyway, it's, obviously it's working better, the drainage is working better for now, but there may be some issues that develop there because obviously some of it must be leaching into the ground. We know that we should, I think everyone agrees that in the medium term, we should probably replace the floor over there in the garage, and maybe when we do that, we could address the drainage at that time. If we put a new floor in the garage, it'd probably be better if we had some way of separating the storm water there as well, so that we, had a grease trap or something like that. And, I'm sure we could do it better than it was done originally, but.
If you have to do something with a floor, might be an opportunity to do some sort of radiant heating.
That's the other thing the highway thought we could do as well if we did that, and then we wouldn't necessarily. They did get I think Hunter said he spoke with Rock Allen about, if they replace the heater. The good news is the heater seems to be working pretty well over there, so it doesn't. I mean, obviously we'll see how it works in February, but but for right now, it seems to be in good shape for the rest of this year. But over the winter, but he did talk to Rock about if we replace those with a couple of modine heaters instead, and had that, and it ran them off propane. That was a pretty steep price that he quoted for it. I think it was going to be around $24,000 or something like that. So Hunter said that maybe we wouldn't need 2 modine heaters if we did put radiant in the floor. If we replaced the floor, we might not need as much. You would only need to use the overhead heater when it was really cold out, maybe. But
No. Wherever, yeah.
anyway, obviously, again, that's it's not an immediate need, but something that should be addressed in the medium term. Obviously they're out plowing snow right now. The 2018 truck, when I talked to Hunter this morning, still had not come back from the dealership. It sounded like they had been working on it, but I didn't get a report as to when it would be coming back. But in the meantime, the 2015 and the 2018 are all ready to go for winter, and they put a salter on the F-350 so they can get some, so they can work with that in the meantime. They ordered some salt and just had it placed in the trucks for right now, so that we could do something in the meantime while the salt shed's being completed.
Where are they at?
Right, well, that's the next, I had expected that to be getting underway toward the end of last week. Obviously that didn't happen. I talked to Mike Randall again this morning. He showed me a picture of the project he's working on down in Georgia. It really just needed to have tin put on it, and as far as I can tell, I don't know if they got that done today, but it should be done imminently here, and he said that we would be the next place that he'd be coming, so I was not thrilled that the schedule's been pushed back.
They got another bay, they got a whole bay, they got another bay over there they could put the salt in.
Right, and I mentioned,
Which isn't really, that's.
I mentioned that
Totally
if
do
we
it.
need to, we should probably do that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. On the positive side, Matt had his cast taken off of his leg today, and it seems to be they've got him in an air boot or something, so he's getting used to walking on it again. But he seems to be in good shape. So that's
Okay.
That's good. He did he took the sewer test last Friday. Unfortunately, he was about 10 points shy, but I told him not to be bashful about that because nobody else has done it the first time either. So he's, the good news is that with this, the way that the state has reconfigured the way they administer those tests, he should be able to get registered to take that relatively soon. I think it's one of those things that he obviously would need to do a bit more studying, but in Hunter's case, it took him so long to pass it. I think mostly because it was only being offered like once a month, and the administration was not allowing him to take it in a timely manner for his learning. I think so. I think Matt will have a better chance of being successful in the future. I know he's got a lot of materials to study from, so I think they have a bank of like hundreds of questions, so maybe next time he'll get some that are better for him. One thing we talked, I'm not to get too far ahead here in the agenda, but in the telecom department, Hubert and Hunter have asked me if we could go ahead and just convert the sewer plant over to an internet connection instead of the phone connection that is there now. That will add minimal cost to what we currently pay. I think our phone bill right now is about $72, and the internet would be about $80. So I think we'd probably go ahead and do both the internet at both the sewer and the highway now, and then we would just hold off on making any changes to the phone line until later.
Are you taking the phone out of?
I think we would take the phone out of the sewer department.
Okay.
Because they aren't really using it right now, but if they had internet down there, that would be an improvement, so.
So
Are they gonna put a computer right down there, or are they just gonna have the Wi-Fi?
I think Hunter would prefer to have a computer down there in the long, and I don't know if they're not, obviously Hubert's still operating off the computer here, but I think,
just carry it down there?
well, I think we have a plan to use we have a laptop that, we weren't using that I think we're gonna make available to Hunter to use down there. So I think we have a solution in the short term.
So go ahead and do that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry. A lot of different things. So as I mentioned, the other trucks are ready to go. And we'll see when we can get the other, the 2018 truck, or sorry, the truck that went down to the dealer can come back.
Must be able to come back someday.
Yeah. It sounded like they were on to the issue, they just needed to, I think they had a lot of,
Waiting.
I think it was a lot of waiting to get to it.
Waiting hurts.
Alright. I did discuss with the highway, sorry, that's the other. After the last meeting, we had kind of an impromptu conversation here about the swamp road, and the, select board kind of being inclined to bring that up to class 3 standards next year. I think you guys had mentioned possibly having us plow it this year. So I mentioned that to and they took a drive up there to look at it. They talked to the residents up there about what could be done. I think they think it would be easy, from the crew's point of view, they think it'd be easiest to turn around at Tony's driveway. But they talked to Roddy, and Roddy said that he would be fine with them putting some extra gap. They just don't think that the Y between Roddy's house and Pete's is quite wide enough for them to be able to turn around down there. But Roddy said they could add he would be fine with them adding some gravel down there to make it wider. So I guess they wanted me to ask you guys how you felt about that. Would you prefer that they plow all the way down and?
Yeah, they need to plow all the way down.
Yeah, that's what
If they're gonna go down there, they're gonna go down to the end and turn it.
Right.
And that's where we'll change classification down to there.
Right, so.
You can do that anytime, I think.
Right, yeah.
Right. I mean,
Did you figure out what we need to do? Did you classify that?
I did not. I will look into that immediately. We got into, they were just thinking about the immediate, because obviously I think we need to widen it
Well,
Yeah, in the-
eventually, but.
So, but if we're gonna plow it this year, they were kind of thinking like, oh, well, can we turn the truck around down there? And they went and looked at it, and that's sort
Well,
of,
you wanna put it into class 3. Probably, put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
right, okay,
Because and then it'll be classified in the February report for 2026.
Mhm.
And then you get paid on it, because there'll be a change in the
right,
whatever. And then we'll discuss or decide how we're gonna, either get a contractor up there to upgrade the road or what we need to do.
yeah. Okay, well, I just wanted to address the plowing issue,
Yeah.
so, yeah, okay,
That would be the most immediate thing that we're gonna do.
okay. Hold on. Where's the paper here? We continue to get, the clerk's obviously processing a lot of tax payments right now. But in general, I think we're doing pretty well in terms of how many we've received so far. I think you guys may know on the AP warrant, Amanda and Jane were discussing all these, and we typically have a lot of our expenditures that are made on the last few warrants of the year, and Amanda recommended that we spread those out more than Kim had done in the past. So on this warrant, we've included the stipend for the fire department, because that will give the fire department more time to get that paid out as well, so, and
Some years in the
yeah.
past, there wasn't a whole lot of money in the, that's why they had that line of credit.
Right,
Some years you had
yeah.
to dip into that, and so you kinda waited till tax money starts coming in.
Right.
But if there's,
apparently there,
it's all
we're
gonna get paid.
our receipts are well enough that Amanda said you could afford to pay some of these things out now. And I've been making a list of we have been receiving some in preparation for the budget and also for the warning. We've been receiving some of the requests for charitable donations that we've received in the past, and I've made a spreadsheet reviewing those over the last 10 years or so in terms of how much has been requested and which years. I did that because last year that sort of became a bit of an issue at the town meeting where I didn't have those figures immediately available, so I wanted to make sure that if someone had a question about it this year, we'd have it available. But with the discussion we had at town meeting, I know basically, I think it's since 2008, those donations have been included in the budget. And for the longest time, it was capped at 10,000. And for years before that, the voters basically did the same thing at town meeting every year. And I think that's why why the board chose to put it in the budget, is because the same thing happened every year in terms of how they were distributed. But I didn't know if maybe there was, the food shelf obviously was the one that was added last year, that suddenly I think there was more interest in that issue because of the food shelves request. And there were some questions about how many of the organizations were in Sheldon versus not in Sheldon, or how much having more. So I'm trying to include more information. Though all of those organizations do provide us with some information when they make their request. And I'm trying to see if there's ways that we can include that information in the town report so that people can have more information about that. And I didn't know if, obviously it's an issue for when you come around to making the warning, I didn't know if the select board could consider having having those donations be an article again, or have a discussion of that somehow, but just wanted to.
Well, there was years ago, it was voted on at town meeting. On those, there was capped at a specific amount. And so yeah, I think you'd have to open that back up to discussion as to what that amount would be and let those voters vote on it. As opposed, you know, and then we had a specific amount and then we divided that amount into those charities or those organizations that request, and they got a percentage based on what they, on the 10, you know, based on that. So, and that's what the town has done since that date.
Right.
So we're not really, the board or, so I guess you could like open that back up to discussion at meeting.
You could put it back as a separate article in the warning.
Right.
Just list all the charities and people
Right.
see.
But
Yeah.
they had, but I thought it was in the, I thought we had it in, yeah, we had it listed in the town report, but I think it was, there was an explanation as to why what the amount was.
Yes.
It was decide, you know, it made reference to the appropriation based on a vote at town meeting as to what level we were gonna support this.
Well,
That was the
no.
board's decision.
Right. Yeah.
Remember, it was you, Jack, and I. And that was, we had decided, you know, this is basically
Okay.
every year it's been about this much.
Yeah, well,
So we're just gonna, this is,
right.
I remember
we're gonna
for
put in
you.
the budget if people wanna change
Well,
that amount. we
We'll
can,
get
or
that, we'll get
whatever.
that package out, and we probably should review it and
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
that package out and put a different number to it. Like,
Well, I think
based on inflation and everything else.
right. What used to happen is that, of course, it was like A through G or whatever, and we used to vote on all of them individually. I remember those days, and then eventually people would say, "Hey, well, I move that we take A through H, but we cap it at 10 or at this number,
So we
and we
did.
prorate it." And then there were several years that same motion was made again and again and again, and finally, I think the select board just decided. And you would list it in the warning. It wouldn't be an article, but it would be at the end of the warning, and it would say, "This year the select board has decided to include appropriations in the budget, not to exceed $10,000." Yeah, it was $10,000 for many years. And then they would list the amount that was requested, the organization, the amount requested, and the amount that was paid. The last 4 or 5 years that little addendum on the warning has not been published. And I'd like to at least include that information back in the warning, but the other thing is that obviously there's been some inflation recently. Between 2008 and 2016 or 17, $10,000 was more, was still worth $10,000, and now it's not
Most
so much.
of those requests were they were receiving in the 90-something% of what they requested.
Right.
So.
And now it's a little
But
like,
yeah, I'm sure.
We could revisit that.
right. So
Okay.
we can have that when we get to talking about the warning. I may put that on the agenda for either
Or in the budget.
or right.
Budget.
Yeah. Speaking one further, I did get I have not had a chance to call them back yet, but I did get a message from a resident this year that they would be interested in having the select board put the issue of Australian ballot on the town meeting warning. I don't know that this select board's ever. I know some select boards adopt a policy where they either want to have a petition or something like that for people to put things on the warning. I think you can do that, or I might ask them to come to a meeting to discuss that with you when we get around to making the warning. I don't know how we might want to address that. I know that issue's been talked about in the past, and I think we even spoke about it a little bit at last meeting. It did not seem like as many people. Not the people who were attended didn't seem that interested, but then again, the people who weren't there couldn't speak. So I don't know.
That's the thing.
And I digress. I'm sorry. As I mentioned, we had the employee meeting. We discussed a little bit about also at that meeting, we had a discussion of the health insurance policy. I think, sounded like most of the employees were interested in having would be interested in a health savings account type policy. However, I think they're still happy with the policy. I think they'd like to have the policy they have now plus a health savings account, which isn't really.
wouldn't?
I know. So they. Anyway, I kind of went through it with them and said, well, you got to give up on one thing to get the other thing, unfortunately. We didn't get very far with that, but I will have further discussions with them about it. But if I had to bet on it right now, we'd probably be sticking with what they would probably be sticking with what they've got
So
right
you
now.
can't get much better of a policy than what they have now.
Right.
That's the issue. I mean, we used to have the health savings, but it was a cheaper policy too.
Right.
And so they needed that savings account to help
Right.
offset some of those costs. But
Yeah. And I think there is a health savings account available with a gold plan, but the premium would increase, so they would. And I said, well, that's because actually the benefits are a little better in terms of like there's no copay with that plan or something. So, but I did mention that if the town was going to talk about a plan with a higher premium, we might want to be in a discussion where the employees would be contributing something to that premium. So anyway, that didn't get very far, but there's going to be some further discussion about that. Had a lot of questions about different policies, obviously. The other meeting that occurred was the planning meeting that included the scoping study for the bicycle and pedestrian grant. I unfortunately wasn't able to stick around for that whole meeting, so you're getting a secondhand version of it. But they had a presentation. They had Chris Comstock came from the school, and there was a couple other citizens there besides the planning meeting. I think in general, the design alternative they are leaning toward is restoring the sidewalk there. I am going to put I'm not sure that it was well represented at the meeting, but I know that there is some feeling on the select board that there should be an alternative presented for a bicycle lane instead. So I'm going to make that point to them. I think there will be a subsequent meeting based on that initial feedback where they'll review the design as well, but there needs to be further discussion with the state of Vermont and the other businesses along the street because obviously the major issue with the whole project is getting a path across the state highway. And that's difficult to understand. The way the traffic's configured right now, with the trucks having to turn out of Mill Street in both directions, it's really hard to imagine you can't really put a green space out there or any of those things that the sidewalk designers like to do, because the trucks kind of need all that pavement to make those turns right now. So I'm not sure how. I think they may have to split the baby and have the sidewalk cross the road at a certain point past the store and instead of going out on the store side of the road and going all the way across the highway there. But anyway, they're gonna take the feedback that they received and rework that. But it sounded like we had a few people interested come down to the meeting, and it was good to have obviously the people on the planning board. But I know Matt McRae was there, so he had some input. He was there to represent the town in terms of how the town maintains things, and obviously he's a truck driver, so he spoke to some of those problems with that intersection. So anyway, I have not received.
Where were they planning to cross?
I think their preferred alternative was to stay on the Stewart's store property side of the road and continue all the way and to cross out at the top of the triangle there, go over to the School Street side.
You're gonna cross 105 with a crosswalk.
Yeah, right. Instead of using the crosswalk that's currently there, it would be to just keep, basically go
It's
right along.
Currently, where is it now?
There is a crosswalk right where
Brown
School
Hill.
Street comes out, right, and it goes over onto the AmCare side of the
They're
road.
gonna move it down, they're gonna move it west,
I think that was the
down to the
proposal.
Stewarts.
Yeah, was to just stay on one side of the road and build some green space out there to have, to let people know that there's a sidewalk there.
When they just cross right in front of the store. And people would just walk right by the store. I don't know, maybe they can't put public, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, I think they wanted to keep it all on one side of the, have as few crossings as possible, have one crossing,
So-
yeah.
Spaces that triangle. States.
The state owns, I think the state owns part of where the gas pumps are. I think that the state's right of way is quite wide there. Although they claim that the town owns Mill Street almost all the way out there, although again, I have yet to find a record showing where they relinquished that to the town formally,
And
but.
see where they got their lines painted this year.
Right, so,
Probably only, well beyond that, and then you take you take the right of way from the, both
Yeah.
Mill Street and where 105 is now, we're both state highways.
right.
Formerly, this Mill Street was the state highway before, so they probably had a pretty.
Right. Well, when they completed the highway project, there is a document I found in the town records where it says we relinquish control of the old state highway to the town, and it goes from here to here, and that is where the stop sign, the second stop sign is. In front of Lester Bishop's house there, pretty much, right? And so it's the other, from that point out to the road, I don't know when that got abandoned by the state, but they claim that it did, so I don't know when that happened, but I guess that's, might be a moot point, but anyway. Apparently the state did some looking into that when Jolly thought they were gonna reconfigure that store. The state did a investigation into all the right-of-way data there, and that's what they presented, is that where their right-of-way is in.
Yeah,
So,
this issue of crossing 105 is gonna be just like the school parking lot. It's gonna get talked about, thought about, and reconfigured 15 times, and still gonna stay the same way.
unfortunately, that seems to be the way it's going.
Yeah,
Anyway, I think that's enough out of me, but,
okay.
yeah.
And
Do you have any
Mill
questions?
Street sewer project's gonna take place next spring.
Yeah, so I talked to Robert Clark about that. I was sick right after our last meeting, so it took me a minute to get back to him. But the notice of award should go out this week. That sounded like they were interested in starting in the spring, probably right away. They'll be there's some process that'll have to start once they get the notice of award. They'll be getting their bonds in order, and obviously Robert will be in touch with us about the process. They'll be doing some planning through the winter, but the town will be involved in that as well. So anyway, that's the only update on that, is that.
Okay.
As I mentioned, with the salt shed, unfortunately, that seems like it's going to get started imminently. All the materials are now over there, as far as I can tell. So it's just a matter of him completing his other project and getting up here. But and as I said with the telecom part, to go back to that briefly. So currently, here's the redux of it. Currently, the town is paying about $800 total per month for all of the phone and internet services that we're currently getting. That includes the fire department, the town office, the highway, and the sewer plant.
Just,
Just the phone, for the.
okay,
fire
because we do
department,
pay for a line per se, that
Right.
part of the radio communication.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's an expensive piece.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that phone bill is like $120 or something like
Yeah.
that. So I'd actually I talked to Raymond Bushy about that today, and I said we probably would exclude. There, I can't think of the last time somebody asked me to patch them over to the fire department.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Well,
so it's
yeah.
not that often that. So I don't think it's necessary for the. It would be real nice, I guess, if we could press a button and go from one to the other, but I don't think it's necessary. So I think the fire department probably should stay on its own account. But I just wanted, that's the big round number for all of the current services we have. And I have noticed that the phone bills have been going up in the last 3-4 months and I think that's intentional to get people to move off of the old copper lines. So if we were to switch the internet at the sewer plant and the highway, that would basically we would be getting rid of the current telephone and essentially trading one bill for an internet bill, and it would be very minimal increase in expense. The town hall currently we have Comcast. If we switch that over to Fidium, we'd have to pay some fee for getting out of our contract because our contract expires right now, I think in May or June. So I was thinking it'd probably be best to just ride that out until spring and make the changeover then.
Make a decision then.
But I think that the highway and sewer we could do the internet now because I don't think anybody ever uses a sewer phone, and the highway phone again also minimal. And then whether we wanted to go with Fidium as a phone provider or a third party VoIP provider, I think a third party would actually be slightly cheaper and might have better, more features on the service. So that I'm thinking that we could put internet at all of those locations if we moved the town office off of Comcast with the current prices that are offering, our internet bill would be down to about $250 a month, and then we could get phone for about somewhere between $250 and $300 a month and it would be one phone system for all of them. So in the end, we'd have an internet and phone bill of somewhere around $600 to $700 instead of $800 if we did that. So we would be saving money in the long run. So I think we're gonna, in the short term, we'll put the internet at the sewer plant and highway, and then in the new year we can talk about doing a system upgrade if we want to, and then eventually the town office we would switch over to Fidium as well. But I'd like to have all.
You're gonna eliminate the phone at the town garage?
I think no. I think in the long run we would continue to have a phone there, but in the short term we would eliminate it. We could continue to have it if you think that's important.
Yeah.
I think it's an extra $15 to have it, to continue to have it with the internet there.
Yeah. Some people call there.
Okay.
They might leave messages because if they're out driving around with trucks, they might receive a message there.
Right.
Talk to the
All right. I'll talk to the crew about
men
that.
that are over there.
Yeah. Anyway, again, I would think that the phone system, I'd like to move on that probably in 3 or 4 months from now, and then
The one here.
in general, just I think we could have a phone at each of those locations, and it would be part of all one system, so that.
So you're saying about putting the internet right away at the sewer plant
Correct. Yeah.
and at the town garage?
Correct.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. All right. So we'll.
And then we're worried about the phones in May.
Yeah, or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me.
So,
Alright. Anything else we need tonight?
I don't. So I talked to Raymond today briefly. I think he came in to pay his taxes, but sounds like the fire department budget is ready to go. So I think we'll be discussing that at the November 20th budget meeting. I'm hoping I'll hear from the library about their budget at the same time, and I will have as many of the personnel costs for you as I can have for that meeting. And then the December budget meeting, as I said, I think we'd like to focus on the highway department at that meeting. I have a number proposed. We have, as I said, between myself and Hunter, we've been gathering different information in terms of different things we could do in the new year for you guys to consider. Building repairs or projects that we could do. And so, excuse me, that's the general idea. And as I mentioned, I'll continue to work on these possible personnel changes, because those would obviously have budget implications as well. So I'll have a couple of different scenarios for you on the personnel side at that November 20th meeting. And I will be in touch with the state about the bridge meeting on another date.
Yeah, we can find out about that later, maybe Thursday or something.
Okay.
Okay. All right, motion? Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm,
Take that motion. Second on that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Yep.
All right, we're adjourned for the evening.